Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Commander Cheapskate Gamer Reviews, and this series focuses on various products related to the miniatures wargaming hobby. And on today's episode, we're going to take a look at Matthias Eliasson's Warhammer's Army Project by taking a look at the Tomb Kings book that he's created for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy. Now, for those of you guys who might be tuning in for the very first time, if you're not aware of it, the Warhammer Armies Project is a free to download rules set for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy. If you guys remember back in the day when Games Workshop used to do Warhammer Fantasy, they eventually canceled their own line of products in favor for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And the problem with that, of course, that a lot of die-hard Warhammer Fantasy fans were still wanting to play the fantasy game, but it was no longer supported officially by Games Workshop, so a lot of them turned to alternative rules in order to do so. Some people played in the 9th Age, which is a kind of like a facsimile of Warhammer Fantasy. Some did Kings of War, but Matthias Eliasson has decided on his website to actually make 9th edition rules for Warhammer Fantasy. Not only that, but he also made 9th edition rule books for all the existing army books that were out during that time period, as well as made a bunch of different factions that never received support. Groups like Pirates of Sartosa, Dogs of War, Astilia, places that. So because of that, now we're taking a look at his latest for the Tomb Kings. We're going to take a little bit deeper dive on this video. We're going to talk about the army rules as well as the bestiary for the army. We'll talk about their special characters, their magic system and magic items. We'll also talk about the army lists as well. And because this video will be a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps down in the description box below so that way you can kind of navigate to the video for the part that means the most to you. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Tomb Kings book for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy made by the Warhammer Armies Project. Alright, so let's go and talk about the Army book's contents real fast. So once again, another beautiful desktop publishing job made by Matthias Eliasson. Like I said before in all my videos, if you didn't know any better, you could have sworn this is an actual GW product. So let's talk about the table of contents real quick. So first of all, we are going to skip the lore of the book just because this is not a lore video. This one's more about rules. So because we will be skipping this, if you are interested in learning about a little bit about the background of the Tomb Kings, just realize that they're supposed to be modeled after the mythological ancient Egypt. Is who they're modeled after. Originally, when Games Workshop first came out with the Undead, the Tomb Kings and the Vampire Counts were actually one giant army just called Undead is what it was called back in the 3rd and 4th edition Warhammer Fantasy. I believe it was 5th and 6th edition where you actually see the army split in half. You have the new Vampire Counts faction and the Tomb Kings faction, and they've, ever since 5th edition, they've kind of gone that way ever since. So one time they used to be actually one and the same group, but now they're separated. So this one's supposed to be like ancient Egypt, kind of like in the Middle East, and they're slowly coming back from the dead. So let's talk about the Tomb Kings real quick. So first of all, let's go. Oh, it looks like I clicked on the wrong button there. So it looks like this. There we go. So let's go to the army rules section. So let's talk about army rules real quick. So we have Undead. All units with the Undead special rule have the animated construct, fear, and unstable special rules. However, they may make march moves if they are joined by a character with the why well be done or sworn bodyguard special rule. Then we have the Hierophant. Your army must include at least one wizard to be the army's Hierophant. Your army includes several wizards. This will be one with the highest wizard level. If two or more models have the highest wizard level, then choose which one will be the Hierophant. Remember to tell your opponent which one is the Hierophant at the start of the battle. The Hierophant must use the lore of Nehekara. The Hierophant uses his powers to bind the souls of the dead to the mortal realm and restore bodies of fallen warriors. The Hierophant and all models in the same unit have Regeneration 6+ special rule. If the Hierophant is destroyed, the magic animus of the army starts to dissipate. At the end of the phase in which the Hierophant is removed as a casualty, at the start of every friendly turn thereafter, all friendly undead units, except characters on the battlefield, must take a leadership test. If the test is failed, the unit immediately suffers a number of wounds equal to the amount of which it has failed the leadership test with no saves any kind allowed. These wounds are distributed as if from a shooting attack. If at the start of any of your turns following the death of the Hierophant, there's one or more friendly wizard characters on the table who know the spells of Lord Nehekara, then one of these models may designate to the new Hierophant by passing leadership test. If passed, he becomes new Hierophant following all the normal rules, and no unit in the army needs to take the leadership test to avoid losing units while he is still alive. So that part is kind of nice. I remember for a lot of people for the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy, the Hierophant was a huge handicap for a lot of undead players. For Tomb Kings players, if that Hierophant died, your army start taking crumbling tests. It looks like this way, so long as you get multiple casters on the table, you are perfectly fine. So that part is kind of a nice little change up. We also have Tomb King Battle Standard Bearer. In addition to the normal rules for Army Battle Standard Bearer, units of undead within 12 inches of their Battle Standard Bearer suffer D3 wounds less than they normally would due to unstable special rule or following the death of the Army's Hierophant. So that part's kind of nice. And then we have our rules for Resurrecting Fallen Warriors. We have Arrows of Asaph. Units with Arrows of Asif special rule never count any bonuses or penalties hit when shooting, regardless of the source of the modifier. And then Entombed Beneath the Sands. A unit with this ability has the Ambusher special rule with the following exceptions. When these units enter the battlefield in the remaining sub-move phase, they do not move on the board as reinforcements in their normal way. Instead, when a unit that is Entombed Beneath the Sands enters the battle, place a small marker, such as a coin, anywhere on the battlefield, but not in impassable terrain or within 1 inch of a deployed unit. Roll a scatter die and artillery die. If you roll a hit on the scatter die, the marker stays in place. If you roll an arrow, move the marker the number in inches indicated by the artillery dice in the direction shown. If the marker is under a unit, friendly unit, impassable terrain, building, place it 1 inch away from the closest edge of that unit or terrain. Once the final position of the marker is established, place the merging unit in a legal formation such that it touches the marker facing any direction. If the marker is under an enemy unit, you may place your unit into the base contact with the enemy unit in their front arc. Your unit will count as charging this turn. If you roll a misfire, or for any reason some of the models in the unit cannot be placed, the unit does not emerge. Instead, remove the marker and roll on the mishap table. If a unit emerges successfully, it may act normally this turn. Only characters that have the Entombed Beneath the Sand special rule can be deployed within such units. If you have several units Entombed Beneath the Sand, repeat this process 1 unit at a time. So on the mishap table, 1 through 2, reclaimed by the desert, the entire unit is destroyed and treated as casualties. 3 to 4, buried too deep, the unit is delayed and does not emerge. You will need to be able to try again next turn to see if it arrives, following the same process. 5 to 6 is shifting sands, the unit enters the battlefield at any point on a random determined board edge, moving on the using rules for reinforcement. So looks like that rule is still the same. So our Tomb Kings, let's talk about those guys next. As well as our Tomb Princes. Tomb Kings have movement 4, weapon skill 6, plus skill 3, 5 strength and toughness, 4 wounds, 3 initiative, 4 attacks, 10 leadership. Tomb Princes have 1 less weapon skill, 1 less strength, 1 less wound, 1 less attack, and 1 less leadership. We have the Curse special rule. It says if a model of the Curse rule is removed from play, the enemy unit responsible for inflicting the final wound, for example, immediately suffer d6 strength 5 hits if it was a lord, or d6 strength 4 hits if a hero. These wounds are treated for shooting attacks. In close combat, any wounds inflicted count towards the combat result. If 1 or more unit is responsible for destruction of the model with a curse, then all guilty units are affected. If the model is slain in a challenge, only his opponent's curse and not the whole army unit. My will be done. Any unit of undead accompanied by a model with this rule use the character's unmodified weapon skill in place of its own. If all characters in the My Will Be Done rule as unit is killed, the unit immediately reverts to using its own weapon skill. This rule has no effects on mounts or any other characters except Tomb Heralds, who always use their own weapon skills. So very cool there. Then we have our Lich Priests. High Lich Priests are movement 4, 3 weapon skill, blitz skill strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 2 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. Lich Priests have the exact same stats except 1 less wound and 1 less leadership. High Lich Priests are wizards who use spells from Lore of Light, Death, or Lore of Nehakara. They're also undead. Then we have our Necrotechs with movement 4, weapon skill, blitz skill 3, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership. They are flammable, hatred, and undead. Oh, wait, hold up. Oh, the Tomb Kings are flammable still. I was going to see if they're flammable. Hatred and Undead. Wrath of the Creator. The Necrotech confers the Hatred special rule onto his unit. If he leaves the unit or is slain, the unit immediately loses Hatred. And Stone Shaper. Any unit of monsters, infantry, cavalry, monsters, beasts, or monsters within 12 inches of 1 or more models of the special rule gains the Regeneration 6+ special rule. So that's kind of nice as well. Then our Humble Skeleton Warrior. Movement 4, weapon skill, skill 2, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 2 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. The Master of Arm, which is the champion, has 1 additional attack. Infantry and Undead. You always take a champion because you can bring your champions back from the dead for challenges. Skeleton Archers, same thing with them. Same as the stat above, and with the Massive Arrows, 1 additional Ballista skill. They have the Arrows of Asaf as well as Undead, and always carry a champion because you can bring that guy back from the dead for challenges. Very important to remember that. Skeleton Horseman, same exact stats as Skeleton, except 1 additional weapon skill, looks like. And the Master of the Horse has 2 attacks. The Skeletal Steed's got movement 8, 2 weapon skills, 0 ballista skill, 3 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 2 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. They're fast, cav, and undead. Then we have Skeleton Horse Archers, exact same stats as a normal skeleton on horseback. With the Skeletal Steed, they got Arrows of Asaf as well as fast cavalry and undead. Then we have our Skeleton Chariots, the premier choice unit for the Tomb Kings. They have movement 7, strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds. They have Charioteers, which are normal skeleton warrior with the Master of Chariots with 1 additional attack. They have Skeletal Steeds as usual. Arrow Chariots have armor save of 6 up with the Arrows of Asaf as well as undead. Then we have our Tomb Guards, which are our elite units. These guys have movement 4, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3, strength 4, 4 toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 8 leadership. Tomb Captain's got 1 additional attack. Always take an additional champion because you can bring them back from the dead. They have Undead and Tomb Blades. Models of this special rule have the Killing Blow and Magical Attack special rules, so definitely want to use that. Pair them up with your with one of your princes or Tomb Kings, so they can get that higher weapon skill, makes them very deadly. Then we have our Tomb Heralds. These guys are the bodyguards for our Tomb Kings. Movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. Flammable with Tomb Blades, Undead. They have the Sworn Bodyguard. If you have any characters with the My Will Be Done special in your army, you must nominate one of them for the Tomb Herald to protect at the start of the game. The same character may not be nominated by several Tomb Heralds. The oath is sacred, one between a master and his chosen champion. Whenever the nominated character suffers a wound before your saves are taken and the Tomb Herald is in the same unit as him, roll a d6. On a 1, the wound is resolved as normal, but on a 2+, the wound is intercepted and reallocated to the Tomb Herald. No more than 1 wound can be reallocated to each Tomb Herald in each phase. Wounds in a challenge can't be reallocated if it's a duel of honor, and the Tomb Herald may not interfere. Then we have Tomb Barks of Ursurian. This might be a new unit. I don't think I've ever seen this one before. It is a chariot with 5 strength, 5 toughness, 5 wounds, with a skeleton crew as normal, with 3 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill. Armor save 6 up, arrows of Asaph with fly 5 special rule, and undead. Hieroglyphs of protection. The Tomb Bark and friendly units within 6 inches of one or more Tomb Barks have a 6 up ward save. We have Wards of the Gods. At the beginning of each of your turns, you may choose one of the following wards. Each ward lasts till the beginning of your next turn. We have the War of Qoth. The Tomb Bark becomes ethereal. The Ward of Soth. Each enemy units within 12 inches of the Tomb Bark must reroll 6s rolling to hit in close combat. Ward of Tehoth. All friendly wizards within 6 inches gain the Lore Master special rule. And we have Kiptra Beetles. Every unit in base contact with the Tomb Bark suffers 2d6 strength 2 hits at the start of each close combat phase. Very powerful ability. I would think that the Ward of Qoth or the Ward of Tehoth will probably be the ones you want to use the most with this Tomb Bark. So very cool there. Then we have the dreaded Casket of Souls, like from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's got 10 toughness. The Keeper of the Casket's got, let's see here, it looks like typical Skeleton Warrior. Same thing with Casket Guard, with 2 attacks, Wilton War Machine, with Tomb Blades, Undead, and War Save 4+, Light of Death. Innate bounce spell, power 5. The Casket of Souls can use this spell as long as the Keeper of the Casket model is still alive and the Casket Skull has not moved this turn. Light of Death is a direct damage spell with a range of 40 inches. The target of Light Death must take a leadership test on a 3d6, adding the results together. If the test is passed, nothing happens. Otherwise, for each point the unit fails a test by, it suffers an automatic wound, which ignores armor saves attributed for shooting attacks. Once the leadership test has been resolved, roll a d6. On 3 or more, choose another unengaged enemy unit within 6 inches of the initial target. The Torturous Soul lead to that unit, which must also suffer the same effects of the Light of Death spell. Keep rolling for further victims, each within 6 inches of the last target, until the roll is failed or there are no more viable targets. A unit can only be the target of the Light of Death once per magic phase. Then we have Covenant of Power. If you have a Casket of Souls on the table on which to start the magic phase, you add d3 power dice to your pool. For each additional casket, you may add additional power dice and unleash souls. If a Casket of Souls is destroyed, roll a d6 for every unit friend or foe within 12 inches of the casket before it's moved from play. On a roll of a 4+, that unit immediately suffers d6 strength 6 attacks. Distribute as for shooting. These are magical attacks and no armor saves can be taken against them. After resolving the effects of the unleashed souls, remove the casket as normal. Yes, the Casket of Souls. Yes, the very dreaded war machine created by the Tomb Kings. Then we have the Screaming Skull Catapult, so just a typical stone thrower with toughness of 7. With a typical skeleton crew, it's got undead and screaming skulls. It says all shooting attacks made by a Screaming Skull Catapult are magical and have the flaming attack special rule. In addition, any unit that suffers 1 or more casualties from a shooting attack by a Screaming Skull Catapult must take a attack test as if it has taken 25% casualties. That was one of the big things about this War Machine unit that was really cool. And it has upgrade, Skull the Foe. Use this upgrade adds an additional effect to the catapult Screaming Skulls. If the target takes a panic test as a result of being hit by the Skull's foe, then they must take the test -1 penalty to the leadership. So very cool there. Then looks like we have a new unit called a Bone Thrower, which looks like it's a bolt thrower that uses the arrows of Asaph rules for that. So that is cool. Then we have a new unit called the Bastathi, I think is what you call it. War Beast, movement 8, weapon skill 4, 0 ballistic skill 4, strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, 6 leadership, always strike first, flammable, undead, and vanguard, necromantic reservoir. A unit of Bastethi is considered to be a level 2 wizard that knows the spells Dejaf's Incantation of Cursed Blades and Petra's Incantation of Righteous Smiting from the lore of Nehekara. This doesn't stop other wizards from knowing these same spells. The unit receives an additional +1 to cast for each rank of 5 or more models in the unit after the first, so max with 3+. Each time the unit casts a spell, you must nominate one Bastethi as the caster for the purpose of line of sight, range, etc. In the event that a Bastethi unit rolls a miscast, do not roll on the miscast table. Instead, the unit suffers D3 wounds, which ignores armor saves. If the unit is targeted by a rule that affects a wizard, your opponent must choose one Bastethi as the target. So it looks like mummified Egyptian cats that can create spells. That is pretty cool there. And Amuts, that looks like it's a new unit as well. Mummified crocodiles, it looks like. Movement 7, weapon skill 4, 0 ballistic skill, 5 strength, toughness, 3 wounds, 2 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. Monstrous beast with killing blow, magical attacks, natural armor 6 up. Scouts, scouts. And unstable, feast of souls. When Amut causes a successful killing blow, it gains 1 wound loss earlier in the battle, and Hunter of the Evil and Wicked, the Amut may reroll failed to wound rolls against models from the Forces of Destruction. Very cool unit right there. That is awesome. I could definitely see these being guys used as elite war machine hunters, especially with that scouts rule. Then we have the classic carrion, giant birds of prey, vultures, which are movement 2, weapon skill 3, 0 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 4 leadership. War beasts fly with 9-inch rules with scouts and undead. Another beautiful war machine hunting unit. Then we have our tomb swarms with movement 4, 3 weapon skill, 0 ballistic skill, 1 strength and toughness, 8 wounds, 1 initiative, 8 attacks, 2 leadership. And it's a swarm with Entomb Beneath the Sands, poison attacks, and undead. So very cool unit there too. Then we have our Necropolis Knights. These are the guys who drive the giant snakes. Necropolis Knights got movement 4, weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 8 leadership. The captain's got 1 additional attack, and the Necro Serpent's got movement 7, 3 weapon skill, 0 ballistic skill, 5 strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. Monstrous Cavalry with natural armor 5+, poison attacks for the Serpent, Tomb Blades for the Riders, and Undead. Yeah, these guys are bad news. These guys are super cool. Looks like they have, I don't know, like they have the Entomb Beneath the Sands though for these guys, so it doesn't look like this rule is applied to them anymore. Which is kind of sad, because if I remember correctly, I believe these guys have the Entomb Beneath the Sands special rule attached to them. Then we have the Sepulchral Stalkers. Oh yeah, these are the guys who gaze at you. They have movement 7, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. Monstrous beast with Entomb Beneath the Sands and undead. They have the transmogrifying gaze. It's a shooting attack with range 12, strength 4, ignores armor saves, has killing blow, magical attack, multiple shots 3. When rolling to wound, substitute the target's toughness with his initiative value. This attack does not suffer any to hit penalties, so very cool on that one. That's pretty sweet. Although they only give multiple shots 3. If I remember correctly, I believe it was a artillery die worth of shots, if I remember correctly. And if they got misfire, they hurt themselves. But I guess they kind of nerfed them a little bit in this edition, which is kind of sad. Then we have the Ushapti. These are the undead animated constructs with movement 5, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 2, 4 strength, 5 toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. The Ancients got 1 additional attack. Monsters infantry with arrows of Asaph and undead. They could go with great bows, which are long bows. Shots from the great bows result at strength 5. Then we have upgrades. Aspect of Joff, god of death. The unit gains a killing blow special rule. Aspect of Gehib, god of earth and giver of strength. The unit gains strength bonus 1 special rule. I think it was strength 5. That's kind of nice. Aspect of Thoth, god of the sky and bringer of justice. Gains +1 movement. Aspect of Sulp, god of water and war. The unit may reroll hits of 1 in close combat. An aspect of Asaph, goddess of magic and vengeance. For each successful wound inflicted upon the Ushapti unit in close combat, they may get to make an additional attack back. So, very cool there. Then we have our Tomb Scorpions, who are also monstrous beasts with movement 7, weapon skill 4, 0 ballistic skill, 5 strength and toughness, 4 wounds, 3 initiative, 4 attacks, 8 leadership. Entomb Beneath the Sands, killing blow, magic resistance 1, natural armor 5 up, and poison attacks, and undead. So that's still pretty cool. The Chimerian War Sphinx, which is one of the blue chip units in this army. It's got 6 movement, 4 weapon skill, 0 ballistic skill, 5 strength, 8 toughness, 6 weapon skill, 6 wounds, 1 initiative, 4 attacks, 8 leadership with Tomb Guard crew with killing blow. They have Tomb Kings, undead, and the Thunder Crush attack. This is the large template They can jump on an opponent, causing strength 9 hits with multiple wounds D3 special rule. Very good to use against really tough infantry. They have the Venomous Sting special rule, which gives them poison attacks. Firewall gives them a strength 4 breath weapon. Still one of the finest units in the Tomb King army. Then we have the Necro Sphinx, another monster with movement 6, 4 weapon skill, 0 ballistic skill, 5 strength, 8 toughness, 6 wounds, 1 initiative, 5 attack, 8 leadership. It's a monster that has a 7-inch fly movement, killing blow, as well as undead and decapitating strike. Before rolling to hit, nominate one of the Necro Sphinx's attacks to be made with the decapitating strike ability and roll it separately. This special attack strikes at strength 10, has a heroic killing blow special rule. So great against monsters and special characters. Very beast of a unit. Then we have the Necrolith Colossus. So this is a giant. It's got movement 6, weapon skill 3, 2 ballistic skill, strength 6, 7 toughness, 6 wounds, 1 initiative, 4 attacks, 8 leadership. It's a monster with the arrows of Asaph and Undeath. Unstoppable Assault. On the turn of which a Necrolith Colossus charge, every unsaved wound that inflicts in close combat immediately allows you to make an additional attack up to a maximum of 5 plus attacks. Note that these additional attacks can also benefit from the Unstoppable Assault rule, but stomps do not, so it can attack multiple times. It can be equipped with the Bow of the Desert, which fires like a bolt thrower with a flying profile with 48-inch range, 6 strength, multiple wounds, D3, so very cool unit right there. Then we have the Iroh Titan. For movement 5, weapon skill 3, 2 ballistic skill, 6 strength, 7 toughness, 6 wounds, 1 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. It's undead. Spirit Conduit. While a friendly undead wizard within 12 inches of one or more Hero Titans adds D3 to the cast result of each spell as he attempts to cast. Yeah, you pair this up with a Cask of Souls, you become very powerful in the magic phase. As the Icon of Petra, balanced spell power level 3, and Icon of Petra contains the spell Shim's Burning Gaze from the Lore of Light, and the Scales of Assyrian, balanced spell power level 4. The Scales of Assyrian contain the spell Spirit Leech from the Lore of Death. Very powerful ability there. And this looks like a new unit called the Chimeric Titan, so this looks like a brand new unit, looks like a giant robotic scarab. It's got 8 movement, 2 weapon skill, 2 ballistic skill, 6 strength, 8 toughness, 10 wounds, 1 initiative, special attacks with 8 leadership. It's got a 7-inch flight as well as natural armor 5+ and undead. It's got Shrine of Eternities. Once per magic phase, the Chimeric Titan can unleash a bound spell. One of the following may be chosen. Gaze of Dust, bound spell, power level 5. There's a magic missile spell with a range of 24 inches. It causes a strength 6 hit which penetrates rank the same way as a bolt thrower. Cool power. Wrath of the Sands, bound spell, power level 3. This is a hex spell with a range of 24 inches. The target suffers -2 to hit when shooting and -1 to their charge distance roll until the unit's counter the unit's caster's next magic phase. And Reawakening of Ancient Might, bound spell, power level 3. This augment spell targets the Chimeric Titan itself. When successfully cast, it restores 1 wound previously suffered during the battle. These are all very cool powers in my opinion. Then we have Curse of the Fallen. If the Chimeric Titan is slain by any means, all enemy units within 6 inches suffer 2d6 strength 2 hits, which ignores armor saves. And we have the Chimeric Titan special attacks. In order to determine what happens each close combat phase that the Chimeric Titan is in combat, pick a single unit base contact and roll d6 on the table below. On a 1 or 2, we got Reaping Blades. The Chimeric Titan inflicts d6 strength 6 hits on the enemy unit. Flesh-Eating Scarabs on a 3. The Chimeric Titan inflicts 3d6 strength 2 hits on the enemy. On a 4, Breath of Night, the Chimeric Titan does not attack, but instead automatically wins the combat with a combat resolution of 2, unless this would be higher from other sources, so that is cool. 5 is Devouring Jaws. The Chimeric Titan inflicts a strength 6 hit with a heroic killing blow special rule on all enemy models in base contact. Oof. And 6, Soul Slaying Hunger. The Chimeric Titan inflicts 2d6 hits on the enemy unit. Roll d6 for each hit. On a 5-up, it inflicts a wound with no armor saves allowed and has a multiple wounds d3 special rule. This is a magic attack, so very deadly ability right there for the Chimeric Titan. So with that being said, that pretty much makes up all the units, so let's go ahead and talk about the special characters next. Alright, so now we're back with the special character, starting with Settra the Imperishable, God King of Khemri, ruler of Nehekhara. So this is the alpha, I guess, Tomb King character. So let's talk about him real fast. So he's got Settra, got movement 4, weapon skill 7, 3 strength, 3 plus skill, 5 strength and 5 toughness, 4 wounds, 3 initiative, 5 attacks, 10 leadership. He's marked on the Chariot of the Gods. So movement 7, 5 strength, 5 toughness, 5 wounds. And he's also pulled by a couple of skeletal steeds. He's also a level 2 wizard. He uses spells from the lore of Nehekhara. He's got the Flammable, My Will Be Done, and Undead special rules. We have Settra the Great. You get, if you take Citra the Imperishable, he must be your army's general. Citra's inspiring presence has a range of 18 inches. We have the Curse of Citra. In addition to the normal Tomb King's Curse, if Citra is killed by any means, then any enemy unit within 2d6 inches suffers 2d6 strength 2 hits as well. We have the Blessed Blade of Petra, magic weapon. Polearm. This blade gives Citra the always strike first, as well as armor-piercing 1 and flaming attack special rule. In addition, a character or monster that suffers 1 or more sun-saved wounds with the Blessed Blade of Petra suffers -1 hit, both shooting and close combat for the remainder of the game, so that's brutal. We have the Armor of Golden Magnificence, magic armor, heavy armor. This armor cannot be modified in any way and may even be taken against mundane attacks that normally do not allow armor saves. So that is really cool there. We have the Scarab Brooch of Assyrian. The Scarab Brooch of Assyrian grants Citra the Ward Save 4+ and a Magic Resistance 1 special rule. We have the Crown of Nehekara. Citra's Imperishable's My Will Be Done special rule affects all from the undead units within 8 inches of him, not just needing his join, and Chariots of the Gods, which is an enchanted item. Citra rides a Scythe chariot drawn by 4 skeletal seeds, impact hits from the Chariot of the Gods, and the flaming attack and magical attacks special rule. Alright, so the next special character is High Queen Khalida Nefereher, beloved of Asaph, Toon Queen of the Eastern Deserts. So she's movement 6, weapon skill 6, 3 ballistic skill 4, strength 5, toughness 3, wound. She's got 9 initiative, 5 attacks, 10 leadership. Special character, always strikes first. The curse, flammable, hatred of vampire counts, poison attacks, regeneration 4+, undead. Blessings of Asaph. Any unit of skeleton archers joined by a High Queen Khalida uses her unmodified ballistic skill in place of their own. In addition, all shooting attacks made by this unit have the poison attack special rules. So very cool there. And she has the Venom Staff, which is an arcane item, bound spell, power level 5. The Venom Staff contains a magic missile with a range of 24 inches. It's successfully cast, target suffers 2d6 strength 4 hits. Very, very cool. Alright, so we have Grand Hierophant Ka-Tep, Lich Lord of Kimri. It's got movement 4, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 2 initiative, 1 attack, 9 leadership. Level 4 wizard uses spell Lord Nehekara. It's got Lore Master, Lord of Nehekara, and Undead. The Grand Hierophant of Kimri. If you take Grand Hierophant Ka-Tep, he must be your army's Hierophant. He also gives his unit the regeneration 5+ special rule, and additionally, Ka-Tep restores 2d6 wounds with the Restless Dead lore attribute. He's got the Lich Staff, which is an arcane item. Ka-Tep can declare that he is using the Lich Staff immediately after rolling the dice to cast a spell, even if the result were to get a miscast. If Ka-Tep uses the Lich Staff, he rerolls all the casting dice used in that attempt. Ka-Tep can use the Lich Staff once per turn. And we have the Scroll of Cursing Word, arcane item, 1 use only. This works exactly the same as the Dispel Scroll. In addition, the caster must immediately take a toughness test. If the test is passed, nothing happens. If the test is failed, the enemy wizard cannot cast any more spells that turn, as he splits out a mouthful of foul-tasting insects. If the test is failed on a roll of a 6, the caster immediately suffers D3 wounds as well, with no saves of any kind allowed. So very cool powers there. Then we have Archon the Black, the Lich King, Dark Lord of Nagash. So this is one of Nagash's servants real quick. So he's got movement 4, ballistic weapon skill 4, 3 ballistic skill, 5 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 3 attacks, 9 leadership. Archon is a level 4 wizard, uses spells and lore of death, even if he's your army's Hierophant. He's got the curse as well as flammable and undead special rule. The Toon Blade of Archon. For every unsaved wound caused by this blade to an enemy unit in close combat, Archon's unit immediately recovers a wound for each one inflicted as described in Resurrecting Falling Warriors. Then we have the Staff Nagash for arcane item. At the end of your opponent's magic phase, you can store up to 3 unused dispel dice from your pool and the Staff Nagash. At the beginning of your next magic phase, you can add these dice to your power pool. If Archon the Block is removed as a casualty before your next magic phase, these power dice are lost. And then with the Liber Mortis arcane item, once the Archon the Block has a Liber Mortis, his wizard level is increased to 5. If Liber Mortis is ever destroyed, Archon the Block immediately loses the wizard level, and therefore must lose a randomly determined spell. So very cool there. Then we have King Far, ruler of Makra. He's got movement 4, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 3, 5 strength and toughness, 4 wounds, 3 initiative, 4 attacks, 10 leadership. Infantry with the curse, flammable, My Will Be Done. King Far the Proud. King Far as the army's general. No other lords may be with a My Will Be Done special allowed in an army led by King Far. He's got the Flail of Skulls, magic weapon. Attacks made with the Flail of Skulls have the strength bonus 2 and multiple wounds D3 special rules. The books them at strength 7. That's pretty good. Armor of Eternity, magic armor. Light armor, enemy models must reroll successful wounds to wound against King Far. And Shield of Petra. Far gains a parry 6+ special rule while even when mounted. If he makes a successful parry save, all models in base contact with him suffer -1 to hit for the remainder of that turn or the next turn if they've already attacked this turn. So pretty cool there. Then we have Amhotep, the intolerant, high-handed avenger of Xandri. So let's talk about this guy. I'm not sure if this guy is from the original book or not. I don't know. He might be from Dreadfleet, maybe? I don't know. Let's take a look at him. So he's got movement 4, weapon skill 6, 3 plus skill, 5 strength and toughness, 4 wounds, 3 initiative, 4 attacks, 10 leadership. Infantry special character with the curse, flammable, hatred, my will be done, undead. Light of Petra. At the start of your shooting phases, Amhotep may unleash the Light of Petra from the Curse of Xandri. This is fired from the table edge of the King's player deployment zone. The Light of Petra uses the following profile: range of 40 inches, 7 strength, flaming attacks, as well as magical attack. Roll artillery dice to determine the number of hits caused. If misfire is rolled, the attack fails. It may not shoot in the next shooting phase. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's a warship. He's from Dreadfleet. The character from Dreadfleet. He's got the Crook and Flail of Radiance magic weapons, 2-hand weapons. These weapons give Amhotep the Always Strike First special rule and +1 to his combat resolution score, very powerful. And Armor of the Ages, light armor. When Amhotep is reduced to his last wound, he gains a ward save 3+. That has no effect if he suffers his last wound as a result of an attack that causes multiple wounds. So very cool. So it looks like we brought the Dreadfleet character in this one, so that's neat. Then we have Senhesimet, Vizier of Qatar. He's got movement 6, weapon skill 3, plus skill 2, 6 strength, 7 toughness, 6 wounds. 6 wounds, wow. 3 initiative, 4 attacks, 8 leadership. He is a monster character. So I guess he's a giant, I guess. Senhesimet is a level 2 wizard. Uses spells and lore of Nehet cards. He's got hatred, magic resistance 2, undead. Master Stone Shaper. Senhesimet follows the normal rules for a Stone Shaper, but gets generation 6/5+ rather than 6+. The Stone Host of Qatar. If Senhesimet is the army general, all units of monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, monstrous beasts, or monsters count as core / special units rather than special rare units. However, all other core special units will count as special rare units instead. Okay, so looks like this is an army, monster army general. He's got the Sacred Croup of Sapesh, magic weapon, great weapon. Keep track of the number of unsaved wounds inflicted by the Sacred Crook in each close combat phase. In each Tomb King magic phase, the power of the Crook may be unleashed as magical missile with a range of 24 inches that cannot be dispelled. The unit suffers a number of strength 4 hits equal to the number of wounds currently stored in the Crook. Once unleashed, the number of wounds stored in the staff will return to 0 until Senhesimet inflicts more wounds. In addition, increase the range of Senhesimet spells with 6 inches. So very cool there too. There we have Prince Tutan Kanut, the Golden Prince of Numis. I guess supposed to be based on King Tut. He's got movement 4, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, 5 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 3 attacks, 9 leadership. He's got arrows of Asaph, the curse, flammable, my will be done, and undead. We have Scythian warriors. If your unit contains Takamuna, you may include units of Scythian warriors. These follow the unit entry equipment of skeleton horse archers, but do not have the arrows of Asaph and undead special rules. They instead have the immunity fear special rule and use the following profile. So looks like they're just normal riders, warriors, humans. We have the blade of Ankin, magic weapon. Pole arm attacks made with this blade have the Norse armor save special rule. Golden Ankara. The Ankara gives King Tut a ward save 4+. Golden Eye of Ranut. The golden eye increases Tut's ward save to 3+ if he rides in a chariot. So very cool there too. So that's kind of cool. Then we have Prince Apophos, the cursed Scarab Lord. He's got movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, 4 strength, 5 toughness, 3 toughness, 4 wounds, 1 initiative, 5 attacks, 8 leadership. Entomb Beneath the Stand special rule, Fly 10 special rule, and generation 4+, Strider, Terror, and Undead. Desert Revenant. Prince Apophos cannot join any units, and he cannot be your army general. When rolling on the table using the Entomb Beneath the Sand special rule, you may reroll their artillery dice. He's a scarab prince. Once Prince Apophos' body is made of scuttling tide of scarabs, then he can vomit over his foes. Apophos is a strength 2 breath weapon. In addition, if Apophos is ever destroyed by any means, then before removing the model, all enemy units within 2d6 inches of him immediately take 2d6 strength 2 hits, distributed as for shooting. He's a Soul Reaper. As soon as Prince Apophos is placed on the table, nominate 1 enemy character on the battlefield. This is the soul marked by the god of the underworld that Apophos must claim. Apophos rerolls all failed to hit into wounds against the chosen character. So, kind of a cool character assassin. That's kind of neat. Then we have the Herald of Nekaf, Emissary of Setra. Movement 4, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 3, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. Special character with flammable, swarm bodyguard, Tomb Blades, undead, Setra's champion. If able to, Nekaf must always issue and accept challenges. When fighting a challenge, Nekaf gains a ward save of 5+, and his killing blow would take place on any wound rolls of 5+. Herald of Despair. Enemy units at base contact with net-calf roll 1 additional dice when making a leadership test, discarding the lowest result. This has no effect on units with immunity to psychology. It's got the Blade of the Morning for magic weapon. If a unit suffers at least 1 wound from the Blade of Morning, loses the combat. Any negative modifiers to the unit's leadership for the subsequent break test are doubled. Oof, that's pretty rough. Vanguards of the Sun. All enemy units that attempt to strike NACAF suffer -1 to hit in close combat. And Amulet of Neru. All talisman, enchant items, and arcane items belonging to enemy models in base contact with NACAF cease to function while they're in base contact. So, very deadly dude. Then we have Ramhotep the Visionary, Necrotect of Qatar. He's got movement 4, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength of toughness of 4, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership, special character with flammable frenzy, hatred, stone shaper, undeath, wrath of the creator. Frantic Fervor. It says Ramhotep confers a frenzy special rule on the unit he accompanies. While it remains in the unit can never lose its frenzy. And Master Artisan. At the start of the game, select a single friendly unit of monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, monstrous beasts, or monsters. The models in this unit have been restored and embellished by Ramhotep, and reroll all field armor saves during the battle. So very cool. I can see him being paired up really well with this what's his name, with Sinhis the Vizier of Qatar. So I could definitely see those guys actually helping each other out for like an all monster army. So that would be kind of cool as well. So with that being said, with the special characters done, we're going to move on to the magic lore as well as the magic items. So we'll be right back after this. Alright, so we're back for the lore of Nehekara. So our attribute is Restless Dead. Each time a wizard successfully casts an augment spell from the lore of Nehekara to add a friendly undead unit, the target of the spell immediately recovers d6 plus 1 wounds worth of models as described for Resurrecting Fallen Warriors. So your monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, monstrous beasts, and monsters can only recover a single wound loss in this way per spell. So that part's kind of cool. Then we have Kasar's Incantation of Desert Wind. Signature spell cast on a 5+. Augment spell at the range of 24 inches that targets a friendly undead unit. If unengaged, the target can immediately make a normal move but not march or reform as if in the remaining sub-moves phase. The wizard can choose to have this spell target all friendly undead units within 12 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 10+. No unit can be moved by Kasar's Incantation Desert Wind more than once per turn, although they may still benefit from the Restless Dead lore attribute. Pretty cool there, so you can move faster towards your enemies. Then we have Jajav's Incantation of Cursed Blades, cast on a 7+, augment spell with a range of 24 inches. The largest unit's close combat attacks gain the Killing Blow special rule until the start of your next magic phase. If the targeted unit already has the Killing Blow or Horrific Killing Blow special rules, these will then take effect on a wound roll of 5 or 6 whilst the spell is in play. The wizard can instead choose to have this spell target all friendly undead units within 12 inches. If they do so, the casting value is regressed to 14+. Then we have Neru's Incantation of Protection, cast on 9+, augment spell with a range of 24 inches. The target unit gains the ward save 5 up until the start of the caster's magic phase. The wizard can instead choose to have this spell target all friendly undead units within 12 inches, and they do so the casting value is increased to 18 inches. So very cool abilities so far. I like these two right here. Then we have Petra's Incantation of Righteous Smiting, cast on 9+, augment spell with a range of 24 inches. All models in the target unit gain +1 attacks, including the mounts. And the multiple shots 2 special rule, excluding War Machines, until the start of the caster's next magic phase. If they already have the multiple shot special rule, they may instead fire an additional shot. The wizard can instead choose to have this spell target all friendly undead units within 12 inches. And they do so, the casting value is increased to 18+. So very cool there. Then we have Incantation of Vengeance, Assyrian's Incantation of Vengeance, cast on 10+. Hex spell with a range of 18 inches. The target unit suffers -D3 to its movements, to a minimum of 1, and treats all terrain, even open ground, as dangerous terrain, testing every time it moves, including when charging, fleeing, pursuing, moving, compulsory, etc., until the start of the caster's next magic phase. The wizard can instead choose to extend the range of the spell to 36 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 13+. Pretty cool. Then we have Incantation of Desiccation, cast on 11+. I'm not going to try to attempt that name. Hex spell with a target range of 24 inches. The target suffers unit -1 strength and -1 toughness until the start of the magic caster's next magic phase. The wizard can choose to reduce the user's strength and toughness by D3 at the start of the next magic phase. Do so, the cast increase to 22. Then we have Incantations of the Skull Storm, cast on a 15+. Remains in play, Vortex spell that uses a small round template. Once the template is placed, the player nominates the direction that they wish the skull storm will move, determine how many inches the template moves, roll artillery dice, and multiply the result by the caster's wizard level. If the result on the artillery dice is a misfire, send the template on the caster instead. The template moves a random number of inches equal to the caster's wizard level in a random direction. Any model under or passed over by the template suffers a single strength 5 hit. In subsequent turns, the skull storm travels in a random direction and moves a number of inches equal to the roll of an artillery dice. A wizard can infuse the skull storm with more power if they decide to do that. The large turn template is used instead, and they do so, the casting value is increased to 25 plus. So this one is not so good. I do think that the desiccation spell, the protection spell, curse blade spell, and the maybe the righteous smiting spells are probably the most useful ones on this list. So very cool there. So moving on to the magic items now, we have the Blade of Antarak, which for 50 points. For every unsaved wound inflicted by the Blade of Antarak, the wielder immediately regains a single wound loss early in the battle. If the bearer is already at his starting number of wounds, inflicts another unsaved wound with this weapon, he gains the Regeneration 4+ special rule until the end of the next player turn. So that's pretty nice. Destroyer of Eternities for 40 points. Tomb King on foot only, great weapon. Attacks made with the Destroyer of Eternities have the Heroic Killing Blow special rule. The wielder can choose to exchange all of his attacks to make a special sweeping attack. If he does so, all enemy models in base contact with the wielder suffer a single automatic hit with Heroic Killing Blow. In a challenge, only the model engaged in the challenge count as being in base contact with the Tomb King. So 40 points. Pretty deadly. Then we have Scorpion Armor for 40 points, Light Armor. The character can never suffer more than one wound due to combat resolution. If the wearer is with a unit, up to half of the wounds suffered due to combat resolution can be allocated against the character, which are then ignored to saved for the first one. Oh wow, pretty cool. We have Collar of Shepesh for 25 points. It's a talisman for each saved wound the bearer suffers, roll d6. On a 4+, the wound is transferred to any friendly model in base contact of the bearer's choosing with no saves of any kind allowed. These wounds will count towards combat resolution as normal. If there are no friendly models in base contact, the rule has no effect. That's alright for 25 points. Golden Death Mask of Carnute for 50 points, enchanted item. The model wearing this mask causes terror. In addition, enemy units within 6 inches of the wearer cannot make use of their general's inspiring presence special rule or their special battle center hold your ground special rule. It's a little too much for 50 points. Not very much for 50 points, right? I mean. Then with the Cloak of the Dunes with 35 enchanted items, infantry characters on foot only. The wearer of the Cloak of Dunes has a fly 10 special rule. In addition, if the bearer moves over an unengaged enemy unit in remaining sun moves phase, that enemy unit suffers 2d6 strength 2 hits, result as for shooting attacks. The bearer can move over several enemy units in the same turn if you wish, causing damage to every unit. The same unit cannot be affected more than once in the same turn. Pretty good for 35 points. Then we have Nephira's Scrolls of Mighty Incantations for 30 points, arcane item, one use only. A wizard may declare that he is using Nephira's Scroll of Mighty Incantations immediately before casting a spell. If he does so, the wizard must add a number of extra bonus dice equal to his wizard level to the power dice he is going to roll. The bonus dice do not count as power dice, however, a roll of any double when casting a spell using them will count as rolling a 6 for the purpose of ultimate power. Ooh, brutal there. Then we have Inkahil's Canopy Jar for 15 points. Balance spell, power level 3, arcane item. If successfully cast, roll a d6 for every remains of pace spell on the tabletop. On a 2+, that spell is automatic this build. For each spell that is ended this way, add d3 power dice to your power pool. Not bad for 15 points. That's pretty cool. Then we have Banner of the Hidden Dead for 60 points, magical standard. Nominate one of your units of infantry, cavalry, monstrous cavalry, or chariots with the undead rule that is yet to be deployed, whose total value is no greater than 200 points. That unit gains the Entombed Beneath the Sands special rule. When this unit arrives on the battlefield, you must place its Entombed Beneath the Sands marker within 12 inches of the Banner of the Hidden Dead. If the bearer of this banner is destroyed before the hidden unit emerges, the entire unit is destroyed and moved as casualties. In addition, every unit with the Entombed Beneath the Sand special rule that attempts to emerge whilst within the marker is within 12 inches of the Banner of the Hidden Dead can re-roll the scatter dice and artillery dice when emerging. Know that you must re-roll both or neither of the dice. Kind of cool for 60 points, especially if you decide to go with that Entombed Beneath the Sand game mechanic. And then with the Standard and Undying Legion for 30 points, Bound spell, power level 5, this banner contains an augment spell that targets a unit's bearer. As successfully cast, the bearer's unit immediately recovers d6 plus 2 wounds worth of fallen models as described in Resurrecting Fallen Warriors. That could be a really powerful ability. For 30 points, that is not bad at all. So with that being said, that pretty much makes it the magic items. So with the magic items done, we're going to move on to the Tomb King's army list. We're going to talk about that next. Alright, so let's go ahead and take with the Tomb King's army list of their point values real quick. So first of all, Cetra the Imperishable is 560 points. Makes sense, he does a lot for his army. Kwai Queen Khalida Neferirher costs 315 points. Archon the Black is 360. It looks like he can have, his chariot maybe have 50 points with that. Might be rear-mounted on a chair, 55 points. You can have 2 additional steeds for 5 points. It can fly for 25, have the terror special for 25, and may have skies for 33 points. Yeah, that was originally what the Archon, the black character, originally flew in, was in a flying chariot originally from the, I think, the 3rd edition of Warhammer Fantasy. Then we have Grand Hierophant's Koftep with 340 points. King Far is 250 points at that guy. Let's see here. Is that the guy who... Yeah, okay, yeah, that was the character who was riding a skeleton chair, 55 points. Can be upgraded to have skies for 3 points. Then we have Amenhotep the Intolerant. He's cost you 295 points. That's the guy who has from the ship, from the Dread Fleet. That's pretty good for 295 points. Then we have Senhesmit for 440. This makes sense if you want to have a giant monster for your general as well. At the same time, also have access to all those monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, and make them core. That could be kind of cool, actually, to see that kind of an army. Our Tomb King costs 170 points. They come with light armor and hand weapons. They can be equipped with additional hand weapons, spears, great weapons, polearms, and flails. They can take shields. They can be mounted on a skeleton steed or a skeleton chariot. A Chimerian War Sphinx if they want to for 225 points. And oh, so it's rare now. Looks like the Chimerian War Sphinx is rare. It used to be a special choice. And I can take magical items up to 100 points. So that part's kind of cool. Lich High Priest costs 165, 35 points for level 4. They can be mounted on a Tomb Steed for 18 or a Tomb Bark, so that's kind of cool for 120. Or the Castle Skulls for 130 points as well. It may take magic items with 100 points, so that's kind of neat. Prince Tutankhamun, which is the King Tut character, costs 215 points. Be mounted on a chariot for 55 with 3 points for scythes. Prince Apophos is 130 points. The Herald of Nekaf is 165. He can also be mounted on a horse for 12 or a skeleton chariot for 50 points. And Ranhotep the Visionary costs 100 points for that character. For our heroes, our Tomb Princes cost 90 points. They can have additional land weapons, spears, great weapons, polearms, or flails. They can take shields, be mounted on skeleton steeds or skeleton chariots with scythes. They can take 50 points of magic items. Our Lich Priest costs 65 points with 35 points for level 2 upgrade. They can ride a skeletal steed for 12 or a Tomb Bark for 120. That's kind of cool. Or a Casket of Souls for 130 points. Another cool thing they could actually do. So that is cool. They can use Lord of Light, Death, or Nehekar, which is kind of neat. Then our heroes, our Tomb Heralds, cost 60 points, 25 points to make them Battle Standard Bearers. They can take hand weapons, spears, great weapons, polearms, or flails, or shields. They can be mounted on a steed for 12 or a skeleton chariot for 50, 3 points for scythes. They take magic items up to 50 points there. Necrotech costs 60 points. They can take 50 points of magic items. And we'll go to our core units now. So our Skeleton Warriors cost 4 points apiece. 25 points for full command. Can take a magic standard worth 25 points. May take spears for half a point and light armor for 1 point. Skeleton Archers cost 8 points per, 25 points for full command. Always do that, especially if you put character in these units. 25 points for magic standard. Can take light armor for half a point. Tomb Swarms cost 35 points. Skeleton Horsemen are 12. They have 25 for full command, 25 magic points for magic standard. May take light armor for 1 point. Skeleton Horse Archers cost 13 points per unit, per miniature. They can take 25 points for full command and a magic standard with 25 points. Interesting. Skeleton Chariots cost 48 points per miniature. 25 points for full command. They can take a magic standard worth of 50 points. May be equipped with skies for 3 points per miniature. So that's kind of cool right there as well. So special units. Tomb Guard cost 10 points per. They have hand weapons, light armor, and shields. They can take pole arms for 2 points, which I highly suggest you do. Make them strength 5. And at the same time, 25 points for full command and 50 points for standard. So that's pretty cool there too. Necropolis Knights cost 50 points each. They come with spears and light armor. Mount on Necro Serpents, 25 points for full command, 50 points for magical and standard. They can take shields for 3 points, and the entire unit may have Entombed Beneath the Sand. Oh, so they can take the Entombed Beneath the Sand special rule, but it costs 5 points per. Very, very cool there. Sepulchral Stalkers cost 48 points per. Tomb Scorpions cost 85 points. Ushapti costs 42 points per miniature. The Ancient costs 10 points more. They can take Great Bows for free, Pole Arms for 2, or Great Weapons for 3. And they can take those different aspects of Joff for 2, Gahib for 2, Batak for 2, Sopk for 2, and Asaf for 2. You guys can make these guys kind of core too. All these guys core if you decide to take that one giant character, especially as your general. So that's kind of neat. Carrion costs 20 points per miniature. Bastethi costs 22 points per miniature. And Almuts costs 52 points per miniature. That makes sense. These Almut are actually quite large, quite monstrous right there. So that kind of makes sense. Our special units for Screaming Skull catapults cost 100 points. And they can be upgraded for the skulls of the foe for 20. Bone throwers, which the bolt throwers cost 35. Wow, 35 points for a bolt thrower? Definitely take a bunch of these and just shoot things down. Tomb Bark of Assyrian costs 125 points. I think this would be more useful as a mount for a wizard, to be perfectly honest. Then we have our rare units. So the Chimerian War Sphinx looks like it's been nerfed a little bit. If I remember correctly, I believe the Chimerian War Sphinx was a special choice originally, if I remember correctly. They cost 225 points, and Venom Sting and Fiery Roar for 10 and 25 apiece. They have the Necro Sphinx for 250 points. They can be a Venom Sting for 10. Necrolith Colossus costs 200 points. They can take an additional hand weapon for 5, Great Weapon for 10, or the Bow of the Desert for 20. And the Hyro Titan, which I sure always recommend you take, 205 points for that guy. That new Chimeric Titan costs 320, and the Casket of Skulls 135. So there you guys have it. That pretty much makes up the army list for the Tomb Kings for this one. Alright, so now we're back. If you notice, I also got a website up on my page, and the reason why that is the case is because a lot of people want to know usually where you get miniatures from these different factions from the Warhammer Armies Project. So unfortunately, when Games Workshop did away with the with Warhammer Fantasy, they did away with a lot of their Tomb King stuff. However, though, it may look like they might be coming back with all the support they're getting from Warhammer the Old World. But until that day comes, I would highly recommend getting your miniatures from Mantic Games. Mantic Games makes a wonderful game called Kings of War. They make some really cheap miniatures, and they also have an army called the faction of called the Empire of Dust, which is basically just Tomb Kings, basically what they are. So as you can see here, we got some pretty good Mega Army deals for $165 and $100 for a Mega Army deal. But let's talk about what you guys can get on this one. So first of all, we have our Empire of Death Skeleton Warriors Regiment. You can get 20 of these guys for about 40 bucks. These guys also have armor as well. You can use them for your Tomb Guards or just normal Skeleton Warriors. They have Revenant Cavalry Regiment for 40. If you get 10 of those guys for 40 bucks as well, so you can use that for your cavalry options. We have our Chariots, which is 3 of them for 50 bucks. We also got our Revenant Troop for 10 for 30. But I would just say use these guys. You get 20 of them instead and more. For those of you interested in looking for Necropolis Knights or Sepulchral Stalkers, you could use Empire Dust Sandborn Worm Riders Regiment. That costs 60 bucks for 3. So you can use these guys as the Necropolis Knights, or take off the Riders to make them into Sepulchral Stalkers, I imagine. Then we have our Empire Dust Idol of Shobik for $47. This could be any one of those giants that we talked about earlier. So that could be kind of cool. Screaming Skull Catapult is your Bellfire Catapult for 25. They talk about Deadeye Crossbow Troops, so I guess you can use these guys for your archers if you want to for 30. And then we have Empire Dust Enslaved Guardian Regiment, melee and range. These are like your shopty characters for 45. We have a High Priest for 15. We have a Monolith for 50 that could be used as another terrain piece, like your Casket of Souls. That could be useful for that. We have a Champion that you can use for a general. You have your Swarms here for 20, and you also have Mummies that you could use, which you could use, I guess, as other types of infantry for $37.50. So that's an example of some units you could use in order to purchase your Tomb Kings army until Games Workshop actually brings it back with Warhammer the Old World. Alright, so there you guys have it. This is our overall review of the Tomb Kings for Warhammer Fantasy 9th edition, made by the Warhammer Armies Project, made by Matthias Eliasson. Overall, it's a very cool book. It's got some really cool rules in there, especially some of the brand new units on there. They do a little bit of nerfing with some of the units and changing some things around, but overall, though, I think it's a very good product, especially since it's free. If you're looking for an interesting way of spicing up your Warhammer Fantasy battles and move on to 9th edition or add new units to your currently existing armies, this could be a really fun way to do so. So once again, I applaud Matthias Eliasson and all the work he's done and everything he's made up to this point. So this is really cool. Kind of made up a lot of helped out a lot for the Tomb Kings, because 8th edition was kind of hard for those guys to get anything accomplished, but this rule book I think kind of helps out those guys as well. So there you guys have it. That's good for this one. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all this greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.